He says the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants what must soon take place. So that was the general aspect of revelation. We looked at that, and we realized that revelation has a lots of things within itself, portrays the whole history, including the ending of the sin problem or the existence of this planet that is unique and only planet in the space. We are the only planet. And when God was creating this planet, I'm sure he had in mind all the surroundings, all the other planets in our planetary system, and all the other galaxies that are lifeless. And we are, as we said, separated from the other worlds. And those other worlds never sinned. They have a perfect life. They don't know what sickness is. They don't know what police is. They don't know what army is. They don't use money as a monetary expression, I'm sure. And they are not jealous, definitely. And they are not fighting or killing each other. We are the only hostile planet that soon will be recreated, and one portion of the humankind will be enjoying the recreation, and the other part will be destroyed as a personal choice, because God gave us a free will to make a choice. So, as we have seen in Revelation, in chapter 13, I'm sure that we all know those verses. I will just go real quick through Revelation chapter 13, 11 to 18, so that we exactly know what we're going to be talking about. So I'm starting first with the Bible. Then we will see what Ellen G. White says about this topic. And then we will go through what Dr. Stefanovic has to say about this topic too. So, the beast out of the earth, the Bible says in Revelation chapter 13, starting with verse 11. Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth. So there was before that another beast, and we will talk about that beast real short. He had two horns like a lamb, but he spoke like a dragon. He exercised all the authority of the first beast on his behalf. Pay attention. He exercised all the authority of the first beast and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. So kind of continuation and helping the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. I know that here he's talking about the papacy. And he performed great and miraculous signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of men. That's now we are talking very, very challenging situation where this beast is causing fire to come down from heaven to earth in full view of man. Because of the signs he was given power to do on behalf of the first beast, he deceived the inhabitants of the earth. So this beast from the earth deceived inhabitants of the earth. He ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. He was given, pay attention to this, he was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast. So they are so close, they are communicating, they are helping each other. So he was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that it could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666. All right. In this sermon, there we will have some time, like 5 to 10 minutes at the end, to discuss how you guys percept and what you have to say about this topic. We are not going to go into long and exhaustive discussions. I will portray the view which is in according to the SDA principles and teaching about this beast. And I'm sure that we all have to learn something this morning, because the challenge that we face about this beast out of the earth is humongous. Why? Because here we see that this beast will influence not only a certain part of the world, but the whole world. It will be initiator and a leader who will force everyone, says here in the Bible, verse 16, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his hand or on his forehead. So it will be something that will be mandated by the law, something that you will have no choice to take it, or your life may be in danger. This is serious, definitely. But let's not jump into conclusions ahead of time. And when we say something like, when we mention some words that are now very popular and are actually in connection to the country where we live in, let's not jump into conclusions and judging right away and say, oh, this is something that I have to say or hate or not hate. That's not the point. We have to look at the big picture when we study about those things, like what we do this morning about the beast out of the earth. We have to look at the big picture, because it's not about just certain country. It's about the battle between good and evil, and how the evil will try to prevail, but God will not allow that, because evil by itself is self-destructing, and God has a saying when someone is self-destructing, especially because he sent his son Jesus Christ to die on the cross, and that's what gives him a right to interfere. He died and made provision for every single inhabitant on this planet Earth, and that's why he has a final saying. And also, I wanted to emphasize that what we're gonna be talking about this morning is that everything is aligned by the Word of God. And also, now I will read something what Ellen G. White says about this beast. But before we continue, let's have a short preview of the beasts. We have two beasts that the Bible describes. Before that, we have four kingdoms in Daniel, right? It starts with Babylonian, then Medo-Persia, Greece, and Roman Empire. Now, those are the four kingdoms that are described through certain animals that present those kingdoms. That's the beginning. But now we have a continuation. After the Roman Empire, we see the power of the beast that comes out of the sea, right? And this beast ruled for a long, long time. Unfortunately, it's in power even today. But the beast that came out of the earth that we're talking this morning is relatively with short history. It appears as a result of the persecution that was created actually by the first beast. That's interesting. And then we see that this beast in the beginning and offered a refuge to the persecuted Christians from Europe and all over the world to come to a country where they can find refuge. And this beast in the beginning, as the Bible says, has a look as a lamb with two horns, which is really associating that something that impersonating the lamb. And we know that the Bible gives only one answer, who is the true lamb, the Lamb of God. That is Jesus Christ, the Son of Man, the Son of God, the only hope for the fallen world. Okay, let's read what Ellen G. White says about this beast. I was using the SDA Bible Commentary, Volume 7, and when you look at what Ellen G. White has to say about chapter 13 verses that we read, she says this: a unique symbol. Here is a striking figure of the rise and growth of our own nation. And the lamb-like horns, emblems of innocence and gentleness, will represent the character of our government as expressed in its two fundamental principles, republicanism and Protestantism. The United States, now she's getting to the point, is a land that has been under the special shield of the omnipotent one. Pay attention. The United States is a land that has been under the special shield of God. God has done great things for this country, but in its transgression of his law, men have been doing a work originated by the man of sin. Satan is working out his designs to involve the human family and disloyalty. So, the prophecy represents Protestantism as having lamb-like horns. So, we're talking about the beast out of the earth. But speaking like a dragon, already we are beginning to hear the voice of the dragon. There is a satanic force propelling the Sunday movement, but it is concealed. Even the men who are engaged in the work are themselves blinded to the results which will follow their movement. Now, I skip a little bit, and then I'm going to read the most important article in what I'm reading from Ellen G. White. And it says, religious powers allied to heaven by profession and claiming to have the characteristics of a lamb will show by their acts that they have the heart of a dragon and that they are instigated and controlled by Satan. The time is coming when God's people will feel the hand of persecution because they keep holy the seventh day. Satan has caused the change of the Sabbath in the hope of carrying out his purpose of the defeat of God's plans. The main sin who taught to change times and laws, the man of sin, which is the devil, and who has always oppressed the people of God, will cause laws to be made enforcing the observance of the first day of the week. That's why I emphasize many times not the legalistic aspect of the Sabbath. No, the Sabbath has its own importance in clarifying who the real creator is. And the Lord will work in their behalf, showing plainly that he is the God of gods. Church and the world in corrupt harmony. Now, the word of God plainly declares that his law is to be scorned, trampled upon by the world. There will be an extraordinary prevalence of iniquity. Now, the professed Protestant world will form a confederacy with the men of sin, and the church and the world will be in corrupt harmony. Here, the great crisis is coming upon the world. The scriptures teach that popery is to regain its lost supremacy, and that the fires of persecution will be rekindled through the time-serving concessions of so-called Protestant world, the General Conference Bulletin. You can find that from April 13, 1891. The time is at hand, says further Ellen G. White, when Satan will work miracles to confirm minds in the belief that he is God. All the people of God are now stand on the platform of truth, as it has been given in the third angel's message. Further, he talks about preparing for the image of the beast, testing the image. And now she's talking about apostasy and national ruin. And it says, when the Protestant churches shall unite with the secular power to sustain a false religion for opposing which their ancestors endured the fierce persecution, when the state shall use its power to enforce the decrees and sustain the institution of the church, then will Protestant America have formed an image to the papacy, and there will be a national apostasy which will end only in national ruin. So here Ellen G. White mentions Protestant America. Now we will go to the book of by the name of Plain Revelation from Dr. Stefanovic, and we will see what he has to say about this topic. So far, we understood how this beast that came out of the earth is in the beginning with a lamb-like appearance. And when we talk about this, my brothers and sisters, let's have in mind, not draw into conclusions and say everything bad about America. No, we cannot do that. Even Ellen G. White says that at one point, God embraced this country and helped her. And I have a lot to say as a refugee. America embraced me and my family and helped me. I started a new life here in America. So how shall I say now and say, America is this or America is that, and talk bad things about America? As much as we have irregularities in America, we have to have in mind that America helped a lot of people around the world and still giving refuge. But the battle between good and evil is going on. And because of certain stance that this beast out of the earth takes, it will be developing actions that are so close to the actions of the first beast, which is the beast from that comes out of the sea. And at the end, unfortunately, it's like, the way I look at this thing is like when you have a child and is growing. In the beginning, the child is going really nice, strong, you're happy. But that child is developing certain, affections toward this and that. And certainly that child is grown man and at the end losing the right perspective of life and turns into something not good. We have that all the time. We had people, and even this Sabbath school lesson we studied about Ahaz, and lots of other kings in Israel. Some of them, they started nice, but some of them, they didn't end up nice. Like David or Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, and some other good kings that we had through the Israel government at that time in the Old Testament. But some of them were nasty. So this beast, at the end, will do something that nobody expects. And we already read about that, what Ellen G. White says, that this beast will be helping the beast of the sea, which is the papacy. And the Bible, if you go just a little bit further, like 3 chapters further, chapter 16, verse 13. Pay attention what it says. Then I saw 3 evil spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So those 3 evil spirits, the theologians call them how? False Trinity. And who is in charge of this false Trinity? Of course, the devil. So the devil, the beast out of the sea, and the beast out of the earth are 3 spirits that are in Revelation explained as evil spirits. So you see, you cannot speak about today's America, this and that. No, I will not allow that. I personally don't look it that way. But when we talk about the end time, when the battle between good and evil will be at the end, when God will say it is finished, then this will happen what the Bible says. That's why this book is called the last book, Revelation of Jesus Christ, which means God tells us what will be in the end, not to create hatred, or America is bad, America is this, America is that, or any other country. We cannot do that. We cannot do that, because you have also to look at the good things that those countries are doing. But when we talk about the big picture, the battle between good and evil, yes, we can talk about those two beasts that are united, and their leader is who? The devil. And that is the one who hates love. I can say that, safely say that, hates love. If he was following the example of God, his love and law, he wouldn't come to the idea of rebelling and turning his side from his governance. Okay, in this book that I mentioned, Pre-Revelation, you can read a lot. I cannot read everything because it's a lot, and it's going to take a lot of time, and that's not my purpose, to suffocate you with reading. But I will excerpt some paragraphs that will help us a little bit more about what is going on here, especially because at the end we mentioned the number 666, and some people and even theologians want to say this number particularly pertains to the devil. Some of them says to the papacy, some of them to America. And when you read the Bible, you will see that this number, when we read about the beast out of the earth, because we're talking about the beast out of the earth, and verse 18 says, this calls for wisdom. That's the warning. It's a wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666. Not only this beast, the beast of the earth, the beast of the sea is also with the same spirit, because we read about those three evil spirits, which means number 666 should belong to the corporate idea developed by the devil and followed by the beast of the sea and the beast of the earth. And as we said, this beast, the beast out of the sea, was for 1,260 years, that's the prophetic word, was when we talk about the beast out of the sea, was ruling. But later on we see that the other beast is showing up, and Dr. Stefanovic says this about the power of the other beasts, because this beast is in our focus this morning. It says, what power in the world does this lamb-like beast represent? There is only one world power that appeared in history in the post-medieval period after those 1,260 days or years, that fits the description of the lamb-like beast of Revelation 13. The Protestant United States. That's what he says in the book. Revelation 13 shows that the United States of America, which is the post-medieval period, provided protection and safe haven to the church, will play the key role in the last day events. So that's why I said, don't rush it. And especially I personally, who is preaching this, I cannot say America is bad when America gave me the refuge. I repeat this. I repeat this with one purpose, to remind all those people. When I'm saying to remind all those people, I mean whole America, because the original Americans are not people from Europe. I heard that those are the Indians. They are the real inhabitants. We are all guests. We came here. So America gave a refuge to all of us. And let's be thankful to that. But we cannot disregard the history and the prophetic words from the Bible that tells us how the end will finish. That's what we are talking about. We are not talking about here to criticize political parties. I personally don't belong to any of those two basic parties in America. I have opinion, but I don't belong to any of them. I consider myself as a child of God. I have weaknesses like everybody else, and I stay out of the politics. But the Bible is always inspiration for me. And that's why I took the courage to talk about this beast out of the earth, because I've seen some people how they throw words so nasty, and I can see only ungrateful people. And those who are with the strongest voice probably are helped the most by America, who embraced them, who gave them maybe medical insurance, job, opportunity to make money and all of that. And they are saying this and that. Let's be careful with that. But always give glory to the Lord, who is in charge of everything and who is teaching to love our neighbor. So that's that. So now we are talking about the future. How will the earth beast achieve this? How? As the text shows, in an initial phase, this will be achieved by miraculous signs to persuade people. So miracles are coming in our country, and we will see them. And that's the challenge. When you see a miracle and people say, hey, are you crazy? Don't you see what this guy is doing? Don't you believe him now? And he is doing miracles, and he is still sticking to the Sunday. For me, as a believer, that's a red flag. You can do miracles, but when you say that the Sabbath is not important, and we know that the Sabbath is the stamp on the God's law, which identifies him as creator and nullifies the activity of the Satan, who wants to rule this planet and prove that God is not love. No, I'm not going to go there. So it says that, how will the earth beast achieve this? As the text shows, an initial phrase, this will be achieved by miraculous signs to persuade people. Revelation 13 and 14. While in the final stage, it will be achieved by coercion, which is 13, 15 to 17, which means there will be force. And some people say that one of the force, maybe it's coming through this COVID vaccine or something. You know, people speculate, people have opinions, and you cannot stop that. Revelation 13 also indicates, and I'm jumping to another paragraph that talks about the Protestant United States. So Revelation 13 indicates here that the Protestant United States will have the leading role in healing the sea beast's deadly wound. So it tells us that the religio-political system that Satan used during the Middle Ages, you see, you always have to see the devil, the Satan, used during the Middle Ages will rise again in the closing days of his earth's history to win and control the worship and conscience of the world's people. So what is under attack? under attack is the conscience of the people, which means the free will. If God can respect your free will, why those three evil spirits don't respect my conscience? That tells you that the leadership of those three evil spirits is wrong and takes you into anarchy. So further it says, this prophecy points to the revival of medieval intolerance at the time of the end, Revelation 30:15. The lamb-like beast will side with the sea beast to establish a religious union and enforce an institution that characterized medieval Christianity in both Western Europe and Eastern Hemisphere. The earth beast impact will be worldwide. Again, it's talking about the future. About the future. The mark of the beast says the sea beast's demand for worship, right, is a direct attack on the first commandment. You shall have no other gods. The earth beast raises up an image of the sea beast to be worshipped, which is a direct attack on the second commandment, and so forth and so on to all the 10 commandments. And pay attention to this now. Yes, observance of Sunday does not itself mean having the mark of the beast. You see, Sunday keeping will become the mark of the beast only when people have a clear understanding of the issues involved in choosing a day of worship. That's why I said, hold your horses. Don't jump into conclusions. This is talking about the future. That time still lies ahead. Now he confirms that. That time still lies ahead in the future. In the present, Christ followers must not label any individual or group as having the mark of the beast. That's the warning. And I gave you that warning too. Sunday keeping today does not make any person lost for the gospel, just as Sabbath keeping does not make you any person of genuine Christian. You see? The time is coming, however, when the mark of the beast will become the issue. At that time, every person in the world will have to take his or her stand for or against God. And I listened to this sermon, my brothers and sisters, 40 years ago in Belgrade when I was serving my military term for 15 months. And I was in uniform and in church. And I was reprimanded, of course, because some people said, oh, some people in uniform come to the church every Sabbath, and they try to brainwash us. And I heard this sermon 40 years ago when there will be only two groups. At that time, I just believed. Now I see how it's going to work. Now I'm even a stronger believer that this is the truth. That's how this planet Earth will finish. Ellen White notes that in regard to the mark of the beast, much is not yet understood, nor will it be understood until the unrolling of the scroll. The unrolling of the scroll is coming. Revelation 13:17 shows that the climax of the end-time drama includes economic sanctions against those who refuse to worship the beast image. Verse 17. People, we are in chapter 13, right? People in the world will be deceived by the demonic activities. And we read that in 16, 13, and 14 about the three evil spirits. Refusal to worship the beast will be treated as an act of disloyalty with a penalty of death. All of this is a result of Satan's long-time desire to be the sole owner of this world. You see, those evil spirits with their leader, the devil, the Satan, he wants ownership of this world, something that cannot be realized as long as those who refuse to acknowledge his rule over this world remain. However, this scenario will be concluded with the coming of Christ with power and glory. He will defeat the satanic Triune League and their forces and defend his faithful people, bringing them to their eternal homeland. Now, let's say a few more words about the number 666. I think it's important. We already said something, and I gave you my conclusion, but this is what Dr. Stefanovic says. Revelation 13:18 reflects on this passage from Daniel. God's end-time people will need divinely imparted wisdom to discern the deceptive character of the beast and to be protected from the end-time deception, because end-time deception is coming. However, all those who lack this wisdom will become victims at the end-time deception. That's why I'm preaching this, so that nobody will become a victim of this end-time deception. And then we can say a few things about Vicarious Filii Dei. It is interesting that Ellen White never referred to Vicarious Filii Dei in her writings to interpret 666, the number 666, though she clearly identified the beast of Revelation and his number with the papacy. Applying the Latin phrase Vicarious Filii Dei to 666 is problematic for several reasons. First, there is no documented evidence, despite the claim that the phrase has ever appeared on a papal tiara or mitre. So my point in this whole thing is that, excuse me, that we cannot just assign this number to the devil, because there are three evil spirits. Yes, he is in charge, but he is supported heavily by the beast that coming out of the sea and of the earth. So the safest stand about this number is maybe to assign this number to all those three evil spirits, because it's a general spirit that defines this false trinity. And the best way, Dr. Stefanovic says, to understand 666 is from a spiritual perspective. 7 in the Bible is the divine number that expresses God's perfection. Being one short of 7, 6 represents humanity falling short of the divine perfection. You see that? This is based on the fact that humans were created on the 6th day, a day prior to the completion of the full week of 7 days. Humans find their purpose only in the number 7 by acknowledging God as their creator and redeemer. The reason why I read this paragraph is this. I will tell you my opinion, and I will be honest with you and just say what I believe. Here he is mentioning number 6 and number 7. The difference between number 6 and number 7 is this. This is how I look at this. Now pay attention. We are coming to the conclusion of this sermon. Number 6, first of all, is not a number of perfection. And number 6 emphasizes human effort. And we have 3 6s. Human effort, which means neglecting the righteousness of Christ in its full measure, that covers your unrighteousness. On the other hand, number 7, which is associated also with the 7th day, is a perfection number for perfection, which means that those who are assigned in this group, they don't emphasize human effort, neither they want it. They are fully aware, and I preached enough in the last few sermons that Christ's righteousness is the one that we need, like the lost son in the last sermon, if you remember. We need the Christ righteousness, and that's the number 7. Humans find their purpose only in the number 7 by acknowledging God as creator and redeemer, and they are fully dependent. So nothing from me, everything from Christ. Let's say something about King Solomon, for example. In disobeying the divine instruction, King Solomon, who is actually the wisest king on earth ever, completely turned away from God, became filled with pride and arrogance. You see how you can start like a lamb with 2 small horns, but then you turn into something that makes you full of pride and arrogance, and serve images of other gods, leading his people away from God. But let me tell you this, Ellen G. White says that Solomon will be saved, and I believe that, as David will be saved. Not Saul, but David and his son Solomon will be saved. That means how great is God's mercy. Even though this beast of the earth will give a huge contribution to the final events, and will join forces with the beast of the sea, we should not be afraid. We should not be discouraged. We should stay close to the Lord and trust him and believe, and not to be afraid if someone threatens. We just have to call upon to the Lord and his promises from the Bible. This calls for studying the word, which means check your belief system with the word, whether it is aligned with the promises of the Bible. So that's what I had for today. Now I'm opening this platform for discussion for all of us. If anybody wants to say something or ask me something, don't expect some heavy theological answers from me, because I'm not